All right, so let's try a third video in this one. Hey guys, crusty old Crow back, and this time I'm not even going to call these videos a tactical perspective video anymore. This is SpecFire, G.I. Joe classified Crow fights. This is not the tactical perspective, so if you only follow the channel for the tactical perspective, just understand there's now more than that going on. So if you're not interested in imaginary battles between this classified collection I have and my spin on what those battles would look like based on how I interpret everything, they're just for fun anyways, and you can ignore them, take them or leave them, but just understand that they're going to start showing up, and they have nothing to do with my toy review in the tactical perspective. That's separate. So I'm still the crusty old Crow. I'm still Ryan, the retired military vet with a big passion for G.I. Joe and for Hasbro and the things they do with that property. This is number 3 in my new series of SpecFire G.I. Joe classified Crow fights. The last 2 I gave you were Firefly versus Grunt and Helix versus Storm Shadow, and in both those cases, in my interpretation, the battle favored the Joes in those ones, or the Joe representatives, and in both those cases we had Grunt the victor of the first one and Helix the victor in the second one. So you think that things aren't looking great for Cobra so far, in my opinion. I don't feel I'm biased, it's just that that's the way the first 2 went. Got nothing in the comments or likes or any of that stuff to say that I was wrong or right or anything like that, and that's fine. I'm just having fun. Maybe it's amusing a few others. Anyways, we're going to do a third one today, and today we're going to focus on Sergeant Slaughter, a character that I've been a fan of in a weird way since I was just a wee guy, and that was outside of Joe as well, and Croc Master, who you guys know in my classified opinions through the tactical perspective reviews, not the biggest fan of, because I think he is a weird niche kind of character, but I decided in my head that the 2 of them, they should meet because I think it would be a good fight. I think it would be an even playing field. As you guys know, I am somewhat of a fan of at some point in my 5-stage fight format, somebody gets an advantage, but in the next stage somebody else doesn't. And speaking of those stages, guys, just a reminder, and that's why I have signs. In round 1, that is assessed on somebody's ability to do something during the 1,000 to 500 meter distance and initiation phase of the combat. So the engage the enemy phase, who's going to have an edge at that very first shot, at that very first opportunity to do something at distance. Okay, the second round proceeds to the 500 to 300 meter distance, wherein it's react enemy fire and move and react, things like that. Get to cover, move forward, try close distances starts happening there. Round 3 is winning the firefight. So again, we're closing distance, but now it's about a superior bound to try and close that distance, get within close combat range. So that's going to be effective from the 300 100 mark, and that's going to be in meters, and that's how we're assessing these, is who had the edge on that in their kit loadout that gave them an opportunity, or what do we know about these characters that are giving them these advantages that I'm assessing, right? So round 4 will be take the trench. That's where they get into close quarters. That's where a lot of this other kit and the character skill comes into play. That makes it a more unique kind of thing half the time. If I switch it up to characters that are different tier classes. I realized with Helix and Storm Shadow, they were kind of very the same tier class. With the 5th phase, it's the last one, and is the Joe privilege or Cobra privilege consolidation phase, meaning what ends up happening with this person. Do they get captured? Do they escape? Do they die? What goes on? What unique item or thing happens that might change the overall outcome, and then we call it at that. So just like my last couple, the format is I'm going to tell you a little bit about the characters that I know. We're going to zoom in over here. We're all going to get on the same page via G.I. Joe file cards. That's the first criteria we do. Then we look at the box, see what they come with, and then we let them scrap. So let's go in over here. All right, so we'll go to the file cards first. And like I said, guys, I don't own any of my images. They're all pulled off Google. So if I'm doing anything wrong, I haven't heard back yet. So there we go. So we've got Sergeant Slaughter's file card up yet. We'll just move his box out of the way. And we'll talk a little bit about what we know about Sergeant Slaughter at a glance. We know that he's a drill instructor, always was, always has been. We also know he's a wrestler, guys. In his spare time, he's a WWE wrestler, for sure. We know all about his 80s character, Sergeant Slaughter. Apparently, his file name is classified as top secret, and he is an infantry and drill instructor for his primary military specialty, meaning he is infantry and he is a drill instructor, not he only teaches infantry drill. Secondary military is survival training. So he's a big teacher type guy, right? And his place of birth, he was born in Paris Island, South Carolina. So he's pretty much born to the role that you see from him, right? Just about every member of the Joe team is qualified drill instructor. It's true. Once you get a leadership course, you start learning how to teach drill to the young guys. So it takes a special brand of heavy duty honcho to keep them squared away. Sergeant Slaughter fits the bill the way his bullet head fits a Smokey Bear hat. Ha ha ha. Let's face it, the man can be rough and he take no gruff. And they go on to sing his praises about how tough he seems, and when he tears a man down with his jackings and whatnot, and his high standards, and he just this big exaggerated guy, right? Like he's a storyteller, he's an imposing figure. He was born bred, and basically he doesn't have a Bible, he has a drill manual under his nightstand, or in his nightstand there, right? So that's what we know about Slaughter. When it comes to the figure, what we know about the figure is what we're seeing representative. I mean, he's a very much well-promoted man, and he's aware of himself being well-promoted. He's got, he knows he appears in comic books and cartoons, he appears in the wrestling ring, and he appears on toy shelves. He's well aware of that because he thought to include his own toy. We'll talk about that at some other point. But as far as a kit loadout that's going to be relevant to the SpecFire Crow fight here, let's see what he's bringing to the ring. Well, first off, the guy is 6'7", okay, and he has one big bulking mass of muscle. Yeah, he comes with a set of shades, and he comes with this Smokey the Bear hat that's got no tactical relevance at all. The whistle, sure, whatever. He's got the ability to call for reinforcements or signal a sudden attack, or just scare the enemy into doing push-ups. But he's got no body armor. He's got lots of different hand options we'll explore. He's got that little action figure, like you said. He's got, basically for weaponry, a drill cane and an AK-74 type variant. All right, so there we got to know Sergeant Slaughter, but let's not ignore what we also know about him. Give this guy the ability to get within arm's reach of you, and it's going to be a painful lesson on what Sergeant Slaughter really does well, which is grappling and punishing and wrestling and slamming and ow, 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 ow. Okay, so that is what we know about that character. Let's have a look at his opponent today, which is going to be the classified Cobra Croc trainer, Croc master, okay, well, whose name we don't know, and he's basically the most laid back, contemplative, quiet kind of guy that I picture from what I'm reading on this file card. He's very deliberate. Every move he does has to be with purpose or it's not happening kind of deal, and he relaxes much like the gators that he trains. He likes to hang out in the water, he likes to get submerged, he likes to just chill. But he likes to get deadly when somebody's coming into his territory. And it talks about all that on that file card. It isn't really the focus, and I'm not going to turn his larger-than-life box over. I'm just going to point out the gear that he's bringing to the table for this crow fight. Okay? He's got quite a few things going for him. As much as I don't like Crocmaster as a figure, I kind of like him in this fight so far because, one, he's wearing some sort of armor. It's a crocodile high leather, sure, but it's going to take a bit of the brunt. He's not as tall as Sergeant Slaughter, therefore he probably won't have the reach, but he is equally imposing in his size. What he also has going for him, he's got more weapons than Slaughter does. He's got that bullwhip. While Slaughter has an AK-74 going in, he also has a pistol. So they do have some ability to shoot at a medium to short range. But when we get into it, it's going to break down to Sergeant Slaughter, and it's going to break down to the fact that Croc also can fight, wrestle, do that. He wrestles his gator Fiona all the time. And he's got a little bit more he's bringing to the table with that hook, that whip, and that knife on his boot. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to give him an edge over a guy who's used to really picking people up and knocking the wind out of them and then laying the hurt. But this is the other factor he's got going for him. Crocmaster has Fiona somewhere and her babies, apparently, right? So we got to consider that going into the fight. All right, so where's this fight going to happen, guys? Well, with Crocmaster being Crocmaster, I had to think of a place where I was comfortable with both these guys having the ability to fight each other well. And we're going to take these guys to the swamps of Louisiana, where I imagine our friend Sergeant Slaughter has pictured or tracked down his friend Captain Lou Albano. Slaughter's been trying to find some relevance in the Joes, the ones, you know, he's trained most of them, and when they don't need training and they're not doing parades, what's Slaughter going to do? He's only got, you know, limited marauders around currently in the release. Barbecue. And, you know, he gets bored, so maybe he's trying to help gather intel by tracking down old contacts like Cyndi Lauper and Lou Albano. And he's tracked down Lou Albano, or at least his credit card charges, to here in the swamplands of Louisiana. Oh no, it's been a trap the whole time. It's been a bait and switch. The Crocmaster seems to have wanted to lure him in and set up a trap. So what you end up getting here is that Crocmaster being a limited guy, everybody kind of knows the kind of traps that Crocmaster lays. But does that ever prevent them from actually happening? We'll find out in the first round, because who's going to get the edge in this situation at 1,000 meters out? It's got to go to the guy who's got the only weapon capable of hitting at 1,000 meters out. So it's going to go to Sergeant Slaughter. If he gains the ability to see Crocmaster, he's going to be able to fire a shot. But Crocmaster, we know, lays low. He's relaxing. He's hard to spot, and he's certainly hard to spot in the backyards of the cabin he's chosen to occupy here in the Louisiana swamp. So that AK-47 never gets a first round. The sunglasses, while it's keeping the glint out of his eyes, at 1,000 meters, dead still in the swamp, he's not going to spot him. First round is a draw. However, I can assume that in the second round, Sergeant Slaughter is getting a little frustrated. He's getting closer in and he's calling out for his buddy Lou, realizing this probably is a trap. So at round 2, within 500 meters, the Crocmaster, well aware of the invader in his territory, the guy who took the bait and falling for the one trap he ever sets, this is the time where he reacts. He pops up out of his little pothole in the swamp and he fires 2 rounds from his revolver. Boom, boom. They're not there to hit Slaughter at 500 meters to 300 meters out. Nope. And they're not going to. They're to draw him in. Slaughter then returns fire in an excessive way, because he's an excessive guy. He's got a full mag in this AK, and he's going to dump at least half of it into the area those 2 shots come from. And he's going to cuss and swear and threaten. And he's going to blow his whistle and say, "I'm on to you, booby trap man," right? And he's going to start posturing, because that's what he's used to. Threatening, posturing, yelling, and all of that stuff. So he dumps those mags in, and maybe he starts pointing at him. "Oh, I'm going to get you." Maybe he points at him with both hands. "Oh, I'm going to get you twice." All right. But at round 2, what he's done is he's taken the bait, because his character has an ego and he has a gun in his hands when he should be brawling. So round 2 also goes to Crocmaster. I'd say not draw. Crocmaster got the edge in round 2. Round 1 was a draw. Round 2 is Crocmaster. But let's talk about round 3. What's going to happen from 300 to 100 meters? All right, so I remember taking some notes about this and thinking about it. And did you think I brought the notes down? No, of course I didn't. Right, so at the 300 to 100 meter mark, this is where Slaughter dumps the rest of his mag. And again, Crocmaster has trained to be low and silent and ready. So he's actually just crept back down undercover and just out of the idea of being spotted. All Slaughter's doing is laying the last rounds of suppressive fire to try and close the distance, and it's effective, right? Maybe he does a little bit more pointing, yelling, posturing, blowing of the whistle. Maybe he takes his sunglasses off, and I'm going to because mine are breaking, right? And he wants to try and spot this guy now. Yeah, I got to get new sunglasses. Mine are broken, and I'm so sad about that, but oh well. Maybe he even takes the hat off. Screw it. He takes the hat off too. All right. All this in an effort to try and spot his target, who is so still and silent, and taking these pot shots at him. He's dumped the mag. Oh no. Well, he doesn't need this gun anyways. All right. So at that point, I can't say that you've won the firefight when you've got a character like Crocmaster who's slow, meticulous, used to laying low and seizing these opportunities from striking at a, you know, in this laying low posture. I'm gonna give round 3 another draw, because there's really no outcome to somebody who doesn't mind being suppressed by a guy who doesn't know enough that he's only got 1 mag of ammo. And this is where I'm going. Sergeant Slaughter doesn't really probably like firefights as much as he likes fist fights, and he's trying to get to that fist fight. So has he succeeded in doing that? More or less. He's closed the distance by laying down that suppressing fire, but whether or not it's what Crocmaster wants is the question. And quite honestly, one must believe that it is, because now he's gotten himself into 100 meters to close quarters combat distance, to take the trench phase. And this is where he's hoping to get his hands on the Crocmaster and choke him and body slam him and pile drive him, or at least bludgeon him with his pace stick, wherever that went, right? But no, there it is. Right, he's got this he could club him with if he wants to. That's what he's bringing to the table, but he is suddenly mystified when suddenly a bullwhip reaches out and grabs his arm and yanks this thing free of it. Whoosh! There, now he's disarmed. Even that shouldn't faze Sergeant Slaughter, because, you know, he's got a whole career of no weapons in his hands. At best, maybe he gets a table or chair sometimes. So he's not going to be too put off by the fact that you took his drill cane away from him. He's still trying to close that distance, but a second slash from that whip, you know, that entangles another arm. And more importantly, at the last second, a sudden swing of this hook is enough to gash, the belly open on Sergeant Slaughter as he draws him forward with the whip. And that's going to slow you down anywhere you come. But now you're in grappling distance, but you got a bit of a hook in your stomach. Slaughter, thinking he can just simply pick the guy up, turn him over, slam him on the ground, goes to do so. And just as he's about to, he's got that hook in there, he suddenly feels the most excruciating thing he's ever going to feel in his life as a gator chomps down on his leg, having sprung up from the water to defend his loved master, or her loved master, as Fiona takes it down, just like the traps always had in mind, just like Slaughter knew it was supposed to go down and thought he could avoid by being stronger. He couldn't. Fiona drags him down, and then it's simply a matter of Croc finishing him off with either the knife or the remaining rounds in his gun. Ooh, it's grim, but Fiona's getting fed today. And this is the end of Slaughter, because Slaughter doesn't have any way of communicating with the other Joes. He's got no Joe communicator, and now he can't call forward the Marauders to come save him. The insult to injury, the worst phase of all of this, guys, is phase 5. The consolidation while he's getting chewed down. Slaughter has no choice. Oh, let's lay him down. This is sad. Crocmaster, you can go take a nap, or you can finish your victim. Oh dear. I'm not happy reporting this. That's why I say my content's not for kids. My content's for an 80s movie fan, right? That's about it. Oh no. So Fiona's now devouring the legs up to the torso. And what does Slaughter see at the very last second? He sees it had fallen out of his pocket, his action figure off to the side, and he's saying, at least I'm dying worthy and heroically of the action figure, and I'll always be remembered. And then the little gators come and they tear that thing open and they reduce its value to 0, drag it into the swamp. It'll never see any resale whatsoever. And that is the last thing Slaughter sees as he turns his eyes over and sees the pistol and the gun coming for him. And that's the end. That's it. I can't keep going with this, guys. The bottom line is that Slaughter loses to Crocmaster because in the end, there are no ropes, no turnbuckles, no referees for Slaughter to resort to help him with his combat techniques of running forward with clotheslines and hard ground to pin people against, and choke slams and all those WWF moves and all the combat in the world. I mean, he in his past is great for his experience with 1 mag of firepower, and that's it. And you can argue that Crocmaster only had 5 rounds with his pistol, but Crocmaster has been expressed as a slow-going kind of guy, very meticulous and very laid back, like his Crocs. And the thing about a guy like this and his loadout, when I see a hook and when I see a knife, as goofy as his costume is, and I think about what relevance he could bring to a table in a modern Cobra. I'm thinking a serial killer and body disposer, man. He feeds him to his Croc, and he'll gut you like a fish. So this one, it's a cold end for Sergeant Slaughter, and this puts Cobra on the board with 1 in these SpecFire G.I. Joe classified Crow fights, guys. That's been it for this one. If you like it, go ahead, hit like. I dare you, double dare you. If you didn't like it, that's fine. If you want to make a comment, maybe talk about a factor that was missed that would have changed the outcome of all of this, or contribute and say that you want to see me do 2 particular fights or negotiate something. I have a extensive enough collection. I could probably entertain that, and let's all have fun together. That's the bottom line, guys. This is my retirement hobby project. This is my fun, and it's all